tonight. So tonight we are going to be covering the rate card, which is going to be when we show the customer price just at the end of the inspection. So I'm going to review the inspection and the presentation tonight, and then Austin's going to teach how to show the customer the price. So we'll get started with some announcements. Zach, do you want to hit that? Oh, thanks. And then just click through it so I can see it all. Okay, so we have 1 month till summer, which is crazy. In 1 month, a bunch of our BYU Idaho reps and people that aren't in school here at UVU or BYU are starting like April 10th. So we'll have probably 50 to 60 reps on the doors April 10th this year, which is like more than we've ever had that early on the doors, which is awesome. So it's getting real. Keep practicing. Thanks for coming tonight, those of you that are here. You will make more money because you're trained, and if you are learning the first couple weeks of summer, you'll pay for that. So it's better to come. It's better to show up in summer and know how to close, know how to sell. So sales training next week on Wednesday, and then on the 16th, bring friends, invite anyone. We're doing the Provo Beach Resort. We have it rented out next Thursday night. So Tanner, you kind of set that up. Maybe you can share.
Yes, it's 7 to 9 p.m. Super fun. That comes with the wave rider. So if you've never done that, that's literally like surfing and boogie boarding. So we got that for 2 hours. Super fun. It comes with like arcade credits, laser tag, bowling. They've got the putt, like everything you can think of. The ropes course is all included for free. Cool. So it's going to be a good time. Bring your friends. Like it's usually we get like 50, 60 guys there. So it's a good way to introduce people to Pointe.
Cool. So yeah, bring friends if you're local and want to come to that. You're welcome to bring recruits or people that would want to come and hang out for the night. So any questions on that? Sounds like we have it from 7 to 9.
7 to 9. If you want, you can probably show up a little bit earlier, like 6:30, and just get started on like arcade or something like that.
Okay, cool. So Divvy and Gusto. Divvy is for, so anyone that's selling this summer should get a Divvy card. And what that is it's basically, we're going to load your incentives onto that card. So as you're earning incentives in the summer, you'll have like a company, like a Visa gift card kind of type thing where you can just go and spend it like it's real money. And then in the off season, we use those cards, our leaders do, to retain reps and things like that. So you'll need one of those cards just going forward, working for us. And then Gusto is our software that we use to pay you. So if you want to be paid, then you need to sign up for Gusto. So, and then badge photos. Theron is not here tonight actually, but if you haven't done that, then please do that. And you can do that just at home. Just take a picture in front of like a white wall.
Or I'll take a picture of you by the Pointe marketing sign with the hat on. Just find me after.
And we'll use those for recognition and stuff, your badge photo, but also recognition. So if you have an awesome day and we shout you out, then we'll have a picture of you. So be cool. Yeah, let's move on to the next. So tonight we're going to review the inspection, but we're going to throw some curveballs because not every single time you get out in someone's yard and you're presenting, are they just going to be super comfortable with everything that you share, right? They're going to have concerns. Usually customers will have honest questions or objections to what you're trying to get them to do. And so I'm going to show you a couple common concerns that a customer might have and the best way to overcome those with the process that we've already taught you, that empathy, tailored response, close, rhythm. So we're going to start with that. And then, like I said, Austin's going to teach the rate card tonight. So just a review on the inspection. So again, the inspection happens when a customer asks how much on the porch. You can get someone to ask how much or give a buying sign. Your next move is going to be telling the customer that you just need to do a quick inspection around the outside of their home, and then you can give them a quote. Most of the time, they're going to meet you in the yard, and you're gonna present. So tip number 1 is you want to make sure that they join you in the yard. Your inspections or your presentations are going to be much more productive if you can do them with someone. There are exceptions to that, where there's sometimes where someone will say, hey, you can go look, come back and give me the price after you're done. And then you'll do like a inspection on their doorstep. So you'll come back to them and then you'll run through the whole presentation with them after you do that walk around. But most of the time you want to have them there with you. So that's just a tip. Introduce yourself. So that's the first thing you're going to do. So you're going to like turn the corner, or if they come with you, sometimes they'll just come with you. And on the porch, sometimes you won't have an awesome chance to like tell them your name and even the name of our company. So you're going to do that because you want them to know who you are, and your chances go up big time if you can connect with them and get to know them a little bit. So you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to shake their hand, and you're going to ask them 2 questions. And these questions, they kind of serve 2 purposes. One is to kind of shoot the breeze and like get to know them, which is important, like I said. But 2, it gives you information that you can then use as you're doing your presentation. So how long they've been in the home, if they've had it done before, those types of things are going to help you as you're trying to tailor the message that you're about to share to their situation, if that makes sense. So every single time you do an inspection, you want to lead with like, hey, how's it going? By the way, my name is Parker. How long you guys been in the home here? And then they'll tell you, this doesn't have to be totally robotic. You can kind of ask another question or 2, like, do you guys like the home? The neighborhood seems awesome, things like that. You can just kind of naturally talk to them.
You Kentucky fans?
And then, have you ever had the home service before for the bugs? Is the next question you're going to ask. So if they haven't had a pest control service, then this is going to feel a lot more educational for them. If they have had a company, then they kind of, a lot of times they'll know the drill and you can speak to them differently, right? And then use just the last tip before I get into the actual like conversation and what it sounds like past this is just use what you see. Like use what you see, use information that you've gathered to create need, value, and urgency. So if you see like a bunch of webs on the light fixtures and on the eaves of the home, you can use that on the inspection. If you see bugs on their house, you can use that. Yeah, you're gonna use everything that you kind of see. If there's a bunch of new builds around, like a bunch of homes that are getting built around their home, you might be able to use that, and we'll help you kind of use some of that stuff to your advantage. So let's go to the next slide. So now this is just to review like the 3 main things. So anytime you do a presentation to sell pest control, there are 3 main things that you need to explain to the customer for them to get to a point where they will buy and spend their money on it. So they need to understand that there's a need for pest control. They need to understand the value in hiring you versus like doing it themselves or hiring someone else. And then they need to understand the urgency. So need, value, urgency. And I'm going to review those tonight and help us better understand that one more time through. So lead with need. The first thing that you're trying to accomplish is helping them understand that they need pest control, right? So that's basically what the need is all about. Like you need a service. So this is usually going to be bug oriented. Like you're going to talk about bugs because that's what we're selling, right? We're selling a solution to get rid of bugs. So if they have bugs, the simplest way I can put this is if they have bugs and they admitted bugs on the doorstep, and you're going to kind of go back to wherever you picked up or where you left off on that. So if they admitted, hey, I'm seeing ants or spiders or whatever, then you're going to pick up right there on the inspection. But if they let you do an inspection and they asked how much, but they didn't give you much to work with, or maybe they even on the porch said, man, we're good, we don't see bugs. You don't have anything yet to work with, right? So the best move is to start with just with what we see at the neighbors' houses and kind of keep it basic. And you're going to sell more through like the neighbors. So we're going to say things like what we are seeing at the neighbors is ants and wasps. That's generally what we see like in this neighborhood. And then you are going to, if they've already said we don't see bugs here or whatever, then the need you're going to try to create with that customer is one of like preventative, or in the future you might see bugs. So what we do for our customers is keep bugs away for the future, right? So if there's not bugs now, then the story you're trying to tell with the need is this like future tense. You might see bugs in the future. So what we're selling is peace of mind. So that's kind of the need that you're you're selling. Any questions on that? Just with this idea of like leading with need and trying to build up the need. So my last thought on this is like, you're gonna be tempted to just get into the technicalities of like what the technicians do right away on your inspection. And my tip would just be, before you do that, you need to build some sort of need or story that makes sense for the customer to then explain to them the technicalities of like what the technician will do when they come up. Does that make sense? Cool. Questions on that? Awesome. So last thing is you can show and explain things with like a slit, like you'll have sales tools, so you can show bugs. There's some that have like wall voids, like it's like a house without walls on it, and you can show like how bugs get in walls and stuff like that. So if they don't see bugs now, you can still explain like there might be some things nested that you can't see, things like that. So you can use tools to help you with the need. So next step is the value. So this is where there's 3 parts to the value. Number 1 is the scope of service. What does scope of service mean? Yeah.
What we treat for.
Yeah, so what we treat for and what the technician does. So like, that's just a fancy way of saying like what our service is. And so, sometimes when I get lost and I'm on an inspection, I literally just like say to the customer, I just remember need, value, and urgency. And so I just literally will say like, cool, so scope of service wise, or whatever, this is what we do. And so it just helps me kind of stay where I'm, like in line with where I'm supposed to be. But just so you guys know, like the main things that we're gonna do in every location that you'll be in, we're gonna spray the foundation of their home. So like a couple feet up and out around the perimeter of their house. And that's gonna help with bugs that are trying to get up in like the siding. And then the technicians carry this big long brush on their truck. And they use that up in the eaves, which is like, eaves are like underneath the roof line. So they're gonna knock down like webs and wasp nests, things like that. And kind of clean it on that first one of anything that's up there. And then they're gonna put some product up there that will like repel bugs from coming back. So you're gonna explain all this to the customer. And then you're gonna we granulate the yard for some yard bugs. So those are like the 3 main things you're gonna explain. We can do the inside of the home as well. Usually it's free for us to do that. And so anyway, you don't have to get super granular with it, but you're just gonna explain that to the customer. And again, you're gonna keep the need in mind. So if ants was their main need, you're gonna mainly talk about the base of the home because that's what's gonna help with the ants the most. And then you'll kind of like share the other stuff as like a matter of fact, like as like a cherry on top. So scope of service, and then you're gonna explain we come 4 times a year. So this is what Austin's gonna be talking about tonight when we show them the price. He's gonna share this again, but you introduce to the customer that we need to come 4 times a year. And we do that because the product only lasts like 2 to 3 months. And so if we only were to come 1 time in 3 months from now, they're past this window of like our product being able to be guaranteed. And then, we can't do anything about it. So we keep coming back once every 3 months or so. And that allows us to guarantee it so that we can come back for free if they're seeing bugs in between those 4 visits. So you explain the frequency. And then the last thing you're going to explain is the guarantee. So that's our whole model, is any market you'll be in, we do it 4 times a year, and we guarantee it so that we can come in between the visits as much as we need to. So you explain that. You explain, this is what we do. This is how often we come. We guarantee this. So you're not going to like pay for this and still have issues. You shouldn't. That's why you're buying this. And then the last thing you do is explain to them that the reason why you remind them, the reason why you came by is you're trying to fit them in the next day or 2. And if they'll work with you on the timing, then you can do it for a big discount. And then you are going to transition into the rate card. Any questions on this process? Yeah, Andrew.
So yes, our product won't last more than a few months, so we come 4 times a year, but
Yeah.
what about at the end of the year? Because obviously we've disrupted the egg cycle.
Yeah.
So ideally eliminated the problem for however long afterwards. How long is that window after the year
Mhm.
Cause I want to understand better if they're thinking of this as kind of like a Band-Aid situation.
Yeah.
Or like actually healing the wound and how long that stays.
So 3 months is like, even after the hatching cycle is broken up, like if you didn't have a pest control service done on your home and it's been more than 3 months, then. There's a decent chance that, but, cause like, we can't control what's happening. Further away than the property, and if they get some stuff that comes onto the property. Again, there's not a product on that property, and so they could see bugs, like we just can't control it anymore.
So the idea is that they kind of stick with us as a
Yeah.
service. and keep-
Yeah, we want long-term customers, like we are hiring you guys not to sell a 1 year, you're selling a 1 year contract. But if if we knew that every customer was only gonna last 1 year, this model would make zero sense. Like we make as a company very, very, very little money year one. In fact, we don't really make money year one. So we're hoping that we do a good job taking care of customers and that customer lasts for longer than a year, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You're not like in trouble if they don't, because all you can control is the first year,
Yeah.
But yeah, we want customers to last a really long time. So, yeah, but it's on us. We understand that, but
So to answer your question too, the way I answer it with people is like, we're dealing with biology, so like bugs migrate and wasps, they fly, right? Like they'll fly over.
Yeah.
But if we have a repellent up where the wasps usually nest or break up their nesting spots, they won't come back. And if you stop that, after time, they'll come back again. So I really push peace of mind and just having a professional to call at any time. And so, my in-laws don't have a service right now. They have a guy they call every now and then. And they got mice in the house and you hear them talk because they didn't have a guy to call. Now they have mice, so. You can use that story this year. They had a guy they called every now and then to come out and I told them. So they're paying the consequences.
does that answer that question?
Yeah, no, and that was what I was thinking, that if you're just going like a year-long contract, for it's like, but you get long term. And if you can set that expectation with them, like, hey, we're here for a need, like, we're not just a haircut for you guys.
Yeah. There is some truth to like, if they had a bad issue
Right.
and they did it for 1 year, it'll like reset, like it'll help a lot. Even if they were to fire us after year one, like now they are started over. And so for sure, like they're in a much better spot having used it for 1 year than where they were before. But if they want like peace of mind going forward, then they need to keep us. Yeah. So what other questions do you guys have about the inspection? Yeah.
Can you demonstrate some of the body language used with the treatment that we're given and kind of when you're presenting that to them, what does it look like?
Yeah, so this is happening, let's say, so I'm gonna use the home as my like canvas almost. So let's say this is like the home that we're using here, right? And usually you're gonna meet them in the backyard and you're gonna be talking like. You're gonna kind of like create this like triangle between you, the customer, and then the home. And so your body language is gonna be like this. It's gonna be like targeted more towards the home, so you can point at the home and use it and things on the home as like evidence of what you're talking about. Okay, so if you're turned this way, talking to the customer, it's kind of weird, right? So like I'm gonna turn my body towards their home, and we're gonna create this like triangle between the home and us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to explaining the scope of service, like the foundation treatment, I'm gonna showing it is really powerful, and you want to do that. So, we treat 3 feet up and 3 feet out, like all the way around the perimeter of the house. And we'll do the eaves for you. So I like show them as if I'm actually doing it. It kind of gives them like, it's like they're test driving our service, So I do this like every time, and we'll use like a big brush and we'll knock down the webs. And usually like, I know this stuff, if you have never sold, it feels like corny and like what am I selling? But dude, like if you go to these markets and you see these homes, like they have webs all over them, they have wasp nests usually all the time. Like it's very common for people to have their stuff. And so there's this really obvious need that you're like pointing to on their home. And it's pretty powerful. So the answer to your body language question is create the triangle, point to stuff. Get like, don't be afraid to like, get down, show them things. Yeah, I don't know, any other thoughts on that?
Still avoid like squaring them up or staying too close to them too
Yeah,
long.
Yep.
Sometimes we forget that, but, or if they're like wanting to put their arm around you and talk to you, which is rare, but like, you know, don't, yeah. So don't be weird with your body language that way. Make sure you're not breaking those rules.
Yep.
They invite you into their home, like.
Yeah,
you're easy to-
yeah, your chances went up when they're like, come on in, you're like, yes,
Telling you.
90%. If I mess this up, I'm a bad guy. Yeah, if you sit at their dining table and you don't close it, dude, it's a bad, bad. So, yeah, remember your body language, that's a really important, thanks for asking that question, that's a good question. What other questions do you have about this process? Yeah, Will.
What are some like common concerns about this?
Yeah, let's cover those next, that's what we're gonna do next. Sorry, I'm kind of taking too long. So here's some common objections. So, first of all, 2 tips on objections. Number 1, anytime you get an objection, don't repeat their objection. So a lot of us, like a ton of us, have this habit of repeating what someone says when we're talking to them. And in sales, when you get an objection, what that does is it gives that objection power. So like, hey, we don't see bugs at our house. Oh, you don't see bugs at your house? It like validifies it is the word that we use. So that's not a word. Validifies it.
If a little bit on there.
Said that confidently though. I felt like that was right. It validated.
Solidified.
I meant to say solidifies. But threw a B in there. But I said that with confidence. No. Yeah, everyone was like, yeah. It validates it. So that's a big one. And then validating the objection is just another. So like you can over empathize with someone where if they give an objection,
I don't have money. Oh, I don't have any money there. I'd never buy this too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I should buy this.
yeah, like you can over empathize is the main thought. So an example might be the money one where it's like, yeah, I don't have money. Oh, honestly, like that does sound really tough. Like maybe this doesn't make sense or something like that's too heavy on the empathy, but okay. So I want to show you a couple examples that you might get of concerns on the inspection. So a very common one, when you hit that like 4 services thing, there are some people that want to know if this is like a long-term contract, right? So some people get nervous about contracts. The beauty of pest control is the contract's really short. It is a contract, but the customer initially is only committing to 1 year. So you're gonna take this head on. There are other companies that will try to have you dance around whether this is a contract or not. We always want you to be super, super honest and just take things really head on, but you can do it in the right way. So this is one way that would work really well when you get that objection. So let's have Stephen, if you'll read this, just so you can kind of, and just read it loud so that people can hear the whole thing.
All right, so just from the beginning.
Yep, so customer says, is it a contract?
Great question. Have you ever had pest control in the past?
Customer says, no.
Okay.
So
Yes.
you don't know how it works, but the service agreement is just for the first 12 months. People usually end up loving the service and continuing with us, but that will be up to you.
Okay, sorry, I should have said yes. If I said no, it's a similar, so, you take out this first part.
So
No,
how-
it never has, so how it works is, it's a service agreement for the first 12 months. People usually end up loving the service and continue with us, but after that, it'll be up to you after the first year. If I say yes, then it's cool, so you know how this works then.
Okay,
And then what's the close?
so I'll show you how this discount works.
Cool. So usually at that point, you're kind of close to the end of the inspection. If you're not, if it comes really early on, then you're just gonna go back to wherever you were in that need, value, urgency flow. Any questions on this objection? Yeah,
So in the beginning of inspection, you already asked if they have had a pest control?
Yep.
That's one of the questions that
sure.
we should ask.
Really
So
good, yeah.
Does that question change if you already know If they have.
That's a really good thought. You're gonna ask this question. It's okay to ask this question multiple times is my thought. I know it's repetitive, but the purpose of this is awesome. What does asking that question here do? Even though you're being repetitive sometimes, like, what does that question here do with this objection? Why would we ask that?
I feel like it just shows that you're listening to them and just kind of like trying to get more information to help answer that question.
Okay, cool. I think my thought is it kind of puts you in this position of like a teacher or like an expert where it's like. In the end, you're trying to normalize the idea that in our industry, in the pest control industry, contracts are super, super normal. And so you ask that question back to them almost like, it's not like trying to make them feel dumb or whatever, but it's like, are you familiar with how pest control works? Because in pest control, yes, it's like, it's very normal to have a service for 1 year. So that's a really good observation. I would say like err on the side of if you need to ask this again, even if you're playing dumb, like, you can go like, you said you have had a service before, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So the way this works is your tailored response. So, yeah, really good observation. Sometimes you might just bring up the fact that you already know that you've asked that, but you can kind of word it differently. But it is 1 year. After the year, they can let us go after that. But a lot of people love it long-term and keep it long-term, and then you move on. So that's how you overcome that concern. Andrew.
It's like a really good time to introduce the frequency and the need. You know?
Yeah,
So you can say like, with the you'd be like, yeah, certainly with the contract, you have our promise that we'll be here certainly 4 times a year.
yeah,
But also in between those visits, take care of you if you need us.
yeah.
Something like that.
No, I love it. Yeah, I think that's a great that's a great tailored response. Yeah.
So
Sometimes you can bring in the guarantee there. That's a really good place to bring it in. Like the reason why we do that is so that you can have a guarantee. Because again, like if we didn't do the contract and if we weren't coming 4 times a year, then you're paying for something and you might have issues and there's no obligation from the company to take care of you.
So my first summer, my summer turned from selling like 1 or 2 and selling zeros every couple days or whatever, to like selling 3, 4s every single day. I just did what you did, but we call these objection cycles. And you can have one objection and have like 3 different ways you'd answer it. And like, I had 3 different ways I answered every single objection and I was ready for any situation. And so I shared a PDF on Slack. If you're not on Slack yet, get it for somebody, but you can have a blank one of these and you can write them out or print them out and write them out like this. This is why we're doing this. You can do this yourself, just like you did, Andrew.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We're gonna get into the rate card. So another objection, is it safe? This is another common one you might get on the door or on the inspection. So have some empathy here, make sure that you're not, you wanna make sure you're genuine and someone feels like heard on this. But the quick logic that you're gonna give them is just that it's super safe. And we use the same thing in hospitals and vet clinics. And that usually is good enough. There's some people that are just like super, super anti pest control. And those people usually are not buyers anyway. But there's some fence sitters that are like a little bit nervous about the, products we use. And this logic right here should turn them to be totally comfortable, and then you move it forward. So again, the objection is it safe? Empathy is, yeah, totally. That's a really good concern. The stuff we use is really safe. It's used in hospitals and vet clinics, things like that. And then you're gonna move it forward with like whatever your next step is. So I'll show you how the price works, something like that. Okay, cool. Last one is, do I have to be home? So this is kind of less of a objection, in my opinion, but you're gonna treat it as one. It's more of just like an honest question. It could be an objection if they're like, hey, I would do this, but I can't because, I have to leave in an hour or whatever. So we actually have some clients where they don't have to be home on the first one. So if you're on the East Coast, they don't have to be home on the first one, but we do have some where they do. So we're teaching this for people where the customer has to be home for the first service, but. Do I have to be home? Great question. It's really simple. We just need you home for the first 15 minutes to say hi to the technician. And then honestly, you could head out. And then close. So yeah, are you guys gonna be here the next day or 2, or do mornings or evenings usually work better for you? Just push it forward. Any questions on that? Objection? Yeah.
I have a question, so about another kind of objection, like, is it a common one? Do people ever say like, oh, like, I'll talk about it with my spouse, like, when
Yeah.
I get home, like. Can I get a card, like, and come
Yeah.
back later? Like, what would you say for stuff like that?
Yeah, that is a really good question, and we'll probably, I would work on that one. That one's a little bit of a higher level one because not, it's situational and. Sometimes that customer is the actual decision maker and they've said things throughout the conversation that hints to like, I'm the person that makes this call. And they're kind of just saying that. Because they're a little bit nervous and they can be worked on and they can make the decision right then and there. However, you could ruin a sale if you're trying to turn someone into a decision maker when they're not the decision maker. Cause you could close that down and like, feel like, dude, I just totally closed that lady and she's all about it. And then the husband gets home and just like, what the heck, dude, we're not doing that. No way.
We'll teach you some questions asked to gauge if they're the
Actual
They're the-
decision maker, yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes, and sometimes it's her, sometimes it's him, and you're just trying to figure out. Yeah, who it is, right? So. That's a really good question. The key there is to ask questions if they, or you're kind of listening and we'll teach you how to listen to figure out if they're really the decision maker or not. And if they are not, then we will teach you, to be honest, to come back later and solidify that sale and not close it down right there. Because that will hurt your chances if you do. But there's some times where it's like, I can tell this is like, they're the person for this and I need to empathize and say something like, honestly, I know you guys want to talk about this. I totally respect that. I have a couple slots left and I'm trying to fill those slots up. So I use urgency as my tailored response and then I close. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, that helps. Thanks.
Great question. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna turn it over to Austin. So he's gonna be teaching rate card. It's gonna be awesome. So let's give him a hand.
So. This is a rate card. That's a rate card. All of us, the whole company, every one of our branches are going to be selling a service that's 12 months, 12-month agreement. That's 4 services. And that the customer will pay for an initial service and then 3 following services, but the payments are monthly throughout the year. And the main reason why is because, one, we're on call anytime, so paying monthly, they can pick up the phone and call us and someone will be out because they've already paid their bill that month or whatever. And then 2, some of the markets we sell in, it's very cold in the winter. And so it helps with winter months when they need to slide that service to like maybe October, November, when it's supposed to be in like January, December, or to February or March, and it helps with retention. So,
Last thought I would share on that is the customer is not emotionally tied to paying the bill for when the service is being rendered. So like in the winter months, we've noticed a pattern, and this is in our industry, where like it's December or January and the customer says, hey, we still want to be your customer, but will you push the service out for another month or 2? And the problem with that for us is we get paid as reps if the customer accepts 3 services or not, right? So we've noticed over the last couple of years, the retention on our accounts, because we've had some customers that have billed this way. Our retention is much better when the customer's just paying every single month, because then they're not emotionally tied to, oh, the pest guy's coming, I'm gonna be paying, so maybe I can push it off. Does that make sense? So every client, you're gonna see a lot of our competitors, like Utah door-to-door companies, shifting to this model because a lot of companies have found out that it's just better for their reps, it's better for their economics of their business, things like that. So anyway.
and who has a bill on like auto pay in here? You pay something and it's monthly and you just don't think about it, and that's the whole other thing. Instead of seeing a big like chunk of change come out, you'll notice that more when you're going through your bank account or whatever. So cool. So on this rate card, you have the square footage. So when you ask that question at the doorstep, it's a real thing. You're gonna base it off of that. You'll have the initial charge that's normally charged in the office or close to it. The monthly rate, depending on the square footage. This is obviously a QR code. It's for the company website you'll be representing. So when someone asks for a card or whatever, I use that. And then we have this chart here. We'll teach you how to use that. I use that a lot to explain to overcome an objection, like why do you have to come 4 times or whatever. You can explain the seasons and when different pests are. Then there's a bunch of different things over here that are cool, like you can show the free touch-ups, auto pay, all that stuff. And then this box here is just some extra services that we can practically show that you do. Some of them you have to charge extra, but some you can do for free or a lot less. Yeah, any questions with the rate card? Pretty self-explanatory. So tonight, you're gonna practice, we're all gonna break out and practice, so pull up your phone on Slack, pull up the slides. And get to this slide at least, and you're gonna use it and practice with it tonight. You're gonna have a big copy like this, but for tonight, just so you can see it. And get comfortable with the pattern of when you're pointing to it. So. Cool, let's go to the next slide. So for those veterans who have sold, or if you haven't sold too, but specifically the veterans, how have you used the rate card as a tool? How have you used it to help someone feel involved? Tanner?
If they're dealing with a specific pest issue, like I love the carpenter ants one, because I can show them on the rate card, hey, this is how much we usually charge extra for carpenter ants. Like I'd be willing to like discount it to X dollars or even include it for free. So it builds value for the specific need that they have. And then you just go and tie that later into the urgency of the discount and why we're here.
Yep, love it. And I already said one, I use this chart all the time as a tool to explain and make sure people understand it's 4 times. But what are some others that you guys can think of? Or that have sold before?
I haven't sold before, but when I was training with Mason, one thing he pointed out was like, it's a great way to keep them engaged in conversation. A lot of times people get closed up or just whatever, because you've been talking for so long. You can hand the right set back to them and get some engaged back.
Yep, all these, for the most part, you should have something in their hands. So they're looking at it and engaged. The rate card is a great one. There is a lot of information going on here, so sometimes it's if you have to feel it out, like you can give it to them, they get distracted, but remember, it is a tool. And it helps you to like make it natural to stand next to them, when to step away. There's a bunch of different ways which I'll show you, but yeah, let's go to the next one. Cool. So at the end of the inspection, you say, so I have a few openings left, so let me show you how this works, or let me tell you how this works. You're gonna transition to it and you're still gonna be standing next to them. You're not gonna get up into their intimate zone. You're gonna be in the personal zone, if you remember from the very first training. And you're going to give them a brief introduction to it's 4 times a year, and that we break it up into smaller monthly payments throughout the year before you show them the rate card. And then you should let me show you how this works, and you step in next to them. So I'll show you that body language real quick. Tanner, will you be the customer? Arkansas, and the true Arkansas man. I'm standing here. So I finished, I'll just start from the value on the inspection. So what we found to be most effective is we just come 4 times in a year. So just once a season. And then any time you see anything between we're on call, so just give us a call and we'll come out and retreat. So I have a few spots left. So let me tell you how this works. We have 4 services, like I said, and we just break those up into smaller monthly chunks. That way we're on call whenever you do this. So let me show you what that looks like. So that's what that first interaction looks like, the transition to that point. Cool, we tracking? Anything to add with that, Parker?
No, it's good.
I think the key there is just keep it simple. I added one line that you don't have to, is I reiterated because we're on call, but just so they understand that there's monthly payments briefly before you show them the card.
So main thought is before you get right next to the customer, you're gonna conceptually explain to them that we come 4 times a year and you're paying monthly.
And then you
That's
step
it.
in and you actually show them.
And the reason why we're gonna do that is if you get next to the customer and you talk for too long and you have to explain it conceptually and then show the discount and everything,
You're right here for way too long.
you're next to them for too long and you lose momentum and they'll get distracted. You wanna just. You want, when you get next to them, you want there to be kind of this like strong discount, show them the price and then have some momentum and go into the close.
Cool. So since you're up here, Cameron, will you read the next part? And I want you to notice how we start with the monthly, then do the initial.
Present.
Yep, present.
For the home year size, it's just $60 a month. Normally, we would charge $300 for the initial, but since we're here, I can discount that to just $150. If you have any pest issues from services, we are on call anytime.
Cool, perfect. So what that will look like is you'll stand next to him and say, normally for your home, it'd be, sorry, let me start over. So for your home, it's just $59 a month. Normally I'd have to charge $300 to start it for that initial service, but I can drop that down just to $150. And if you see anything in between, we're on call anytime. Then you break the gap. And then you're going to close. Our mornings or evenings usually better for you, Mr. Tanner.
Morning.
Okay, perfect. Then you go for a harder closing, sit down somewhere to do the paperwork on your phone. So, perfect. I just need to grab some quick information. Is there somewhere we can sit down real quick? Cool. Alrighty, so I'll show you last one all the way through, and then we're all gonna break out and practice this for the rest of the night, so. So how it works is we come to 4 times in the year, but we just break up the payments into smaller monthly chunks. So this is how it looks. So for your home, it's $59 a month. Normally on the initial, I have to charge 300. But since I'm here, I can drop that all the way down to just $150. And we're on call anytime if you see anything, so just buzz us, all right? Cool. Do mornings or evenings work better for you? Mornings, cool. I just need to grab some info real quick and then we can schedule a morning tomorrow. So is this a good spot to sit down here? It's good. Okay.
Nice, that was good.
Some examples, keep it so simple. Even if they've had pest control and they've done it like where it's once a year, or twice a year, or quarterly, a lot of people do quarterly pest control where they pay on the quarter. Just own it. I think if we overcomplicate it and try to over explain anything, especially in the rate card. If you stick as simple as this, people will track with you and follow it, so.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So, so far we're just straight on the outside. If they do invite you, because we're not really focusing on going inside their home, but they invite you inside to check out a problem. I know we do offer kind of the market some interior services.
Every company will, yeah.
Everyone, okay. So is that ever something that we're pushing? Like, hey, do you have any of these problems already inside? Mind if I inspect?
It depends, but usually you'd rather. Because if we have a bunch of appointments that are scheduled that day, I don't push the inside because then it adds time for the service unless they have like an active issue, they bring it up. But you're not just throwing on the inside just to throw it on. Because then the technicians, it will take longer and they can get behind a little bit more,
Yeah.
but it's totally doable. But
Is
and
it
it-
something?
it's
that they
included in the
would,
service. What's
Is that
that?
something that we can offer for the next visit? Like, when we come back and we put that on?
Yeah, just if you ever need us on the inside, give us a call, but the service on the outside usually takes care of any issues that are going on.
Okay.
Or could start up on the inside, unless they have like ants all over or mice all over, then obviously we need to go inside.
Yeah, one thing I will say, just to help, if they're really emotional about, like, I have ants everywhere, they're all over my kitchen. Sometimes you can be like, do you want to show me real quick? And like, I think I made a joke about this in the past, but it's like, you get in there and it's like. We call it an inspection, but it's like, yep, those are ants, you know, like, yep, you have ants, okay, cool. Now that we're in here, like, let me show you, and
Here's
it
a-
does.
Here's a good tip is you squish it, have them squish it with you and they smell really bad.
You say there's ants there?
Like, yeah, they do.
Really?
And if you get them to smell your finger at the whole other level, but. No, but they really do. They're called odorous house ants. They stink really bad. So you can get them really emotional. But anyways.
Well, my thought was just like, you can. Sometimes I will, like, if a customer's emotional, I'll say, if you want to show me real quick, that'd be great. And I go in there and they show me, and then I'm in their place and I feel like my chances go up of selling them if I'm sitting down with someone or if I'm in their home. However, you're not just throwing the inside, like Austin said, you're not just throwing the inside as a ace or as an option all the time. Because you just don't need it.
Is it a big hay pump?
No, we do it
It's
it's not,
included.
it's included, yeah. And a lot of the times the techs will offer to do it, but it's just not, if you don't need something, you don't need to keep offering things. Like, you just stay simple and just push them through the.
So when the tech shows up, they're pleasantly surprised that the inside's included, I think, you know.
Okay, cool.
So, cool, good question. Any other questions? So before we break out, is that,
This is the question, this is just a comment.
Yeah.
I'd say a lot of the cancels you probably get this year are a result of not explaining this really well. Because they think that you are coming monthly because you're paying monthly, or there's just some discrepancy in like a piece of information that you didn't communicate clearly. And they feel like they were kind of like cheated, or they didn't feel like they would have bought if they had known that. And so like explaining this, like you said, super simply, really, really good.
yep, so to reiterate what he just said, Zach said is most people who cancel will cancel because of a lack of understanding here from us. Either saying it too fast, talking too much and confusing them. So, and then also I think just not understanding it yourself. But if you guys stick with this, memorize this right here is the whole reason you're talking to them after they asked you how much is to get to this point. And so you don't want to just barf it at them and say it super slow or no emotion. Like if you notice, I was like, usually you have to charge $300 for the initial, but since you're here, I can discount that just to $150. Like I get pretty emotional or like excited about that. You know, so I'm like, yeah, it's normally $300, I'll do it for $150 or like whatever, like, or. Yeah, I'm just saying you want to be really clear and precise with how you say this. So this is where you want to practice a lot and then.
Yeah.
Making sure you're really styled.
I just had one thought with what Zach said, like, you almost want to come off as like a doctor prescribing. They're like you have bugs, let me prescribe to you how we're gonna get rid of this. And, or like a doctor or like a school teacher or something, like using that tone, because your cancellation rate will be much lower if at this moment in the sale, you like teach them how often we need to come and remind them that we guarantee it and stuff. If you're like quick with it and don't teach them or prescribe this right here, then you'll have cancels. Like people will forget that they're in a contract, or they'll be frustrated. They'll call the office and try to cancel, and they'll be frustrated because they felt like you didn't set the right expectations with them. So you gotta set the right expectations here with the customer.
So before we break up into groups and practice, click to the next slide for me. One more for you, Zach. Yours is right. One more, Zach. This one right here. This is my favorite handout. I shared the PDF on Slack. These are the parts of the sales map. Right, the initial approach, insider response, closing for inspection, presenting, closing for a time slot, close for payment. And then you're trying to get to the next first down to help progress. We've gotten this far. The next couple weeks, we're gonna do agreement and how to go through that. But these are a bunch of objections that can stop you from getting to that next first down. So for example, we just did the rate card. And they were trying to close the mornings and evenings work better. Here's a few, not all of them, but a few of the objections that could stop you from getting to sitting down with them. And so I invite you to make those objection cycles for these specific ones that could stop you from getting to the agreement or sitting down. So, for example, they could say, can I get a flyer or card after you tell them the price? What are you gonna say?
On the walking business card.
I like that. Yes,
Put that beanie on, dude. You'd be slacking.
that's good. I like it, but you need some empathy first, right? And a little, then that, and then a little bit of logic. Now you're gonna. Or like, man, I am not doing port services, or man, I'm not doing monthlies, like. Empathize, give some logic, ask a question, close, ask a question, so.
If you want to show up in the summer ready to make amazing money, if you were to take that printout and just go through all those objections and with your manager, get really comfortable with them, you would
I
dominate.
guarantee money in your bank account, a lot of it. If you take this handout seriously, it will take you to the next level, even if you sold before, so. Cool, well, any other questions or comments before we break out?
Can you, we talked about it last time during our training, can you offer to have them pay, can you give them two options when they wanna pay, like, if you want, you can pay the full year up front just so you secure that they're not gonna cancel, but that doesn't make any sense. Cancel.
We don't teach that like in this training, because some clients do and some don't. Because some want, anyways, so to answer your question, most of our companies you can, but some companies want it monthly payments, so.
Yours you can. Some clients would rather just spread it and then they think it gives them a better chance of holding on to that account the next year. But some clients will do a 5% discount if they'll pay the whole year.
And then did those numbers that you show us, are those for the whole, do those change varying on where you're going? Like the 150 and 60, or is that everywhere?
Yeah, but we put those numbers on purpose up there, because that's gonna be pretty common, what we're gonna shoot the card this year. So,
You're gonna be charging between 100 to 200 on the initial on average. And 50 to 60 a month on that. East Coast is gonna be a little bit higher than the South, frankly, yeah.
yeah, so if you're doing a 150 and a $50 a month, that's a $700 contract. So. Cool. So the math, if you want to practice that, is you times the monthly by 11 and then add the initial price, and that gives you the average contract value. Cool. Well, let's grab a manager, grab a friend. Let's practice. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being online. Honored Matt. You want to see something crazy, bro?
That's awesome.
That's pretty customized. You want to come. Not it, just start date, whatever you. When it's today, then you start there and. We may not actually, we need girls that will be there anyway. Happy to hear that. It's next year. Yeah, as you're going through that, you know, that. Speed and all. You have, I think it's fine, right? I got it. Yeah. Oh, you do? Hey, or, yeah, maybe ask you.
I definitely want to solidify that I think it's new. Yeah.
Your frame's falling out.
Could be an issue.
I didn't toss it,
So we have to. Or. The way I. Well, yeah. Yes, okay. You do 59 minimum. You can map the, so you're sure we don't have, we don't need like. Yeah, okay. No, you need to charge at least. I think it's only 59. You can charge 59 times. And that would get it. No, that would be like 70. That's good. No, it's not. 59 times 12. So that's where 99 times 99 plus 59 times 11 is 48. I think the best TV option, so 150 59 times 12, I think is, I think that should. Yeah, or you can increase monthly, either whatever you get more comfortable with, right? So you can go. 59 times 12 is.
Here, real quick, everybody. Listen up.
You got
I just heard someone say it, put Will on the spot. Change it from saying, we come for free to we're on call and come out anytime. Because they're paying monthly. But anyways, don't say we come out for free. But
Yeah, so we can come as much as you need us to in between the 4 schedules.
Just like a lawyer, we're on retainer. So, and I guess.
I check out the
Frontline would have better people than hires.
They would rather you have those payments up. The client's always going to for a higher. They also.
But I started.
59 times 12 is not all numbers usually. Dollar, the initial is 699. Well, yeah, we have 700. So we are. I want 800. And what I want to tell the team.
67 is your floor.
There, I just think it's. I'm thinking about something. 99 plus. Yeah, 59. 11.
I mean, that's what I did last year.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
If we can do 99. We're on call. 99, 69.
I like it, I
Well, that was gonna be my question. So for a month, they pay that. Then the next month they start paying. So.
I guess I probably recommend with like the comedy, like usually we quarterly, they're gonna do it once. It's usually about like the monthly business, so I don't.
That's what we're teaching.
I did only if
Just hit them at the 59 or 70 a month, right as you're in the next one.
So they'll do.
So you go 2 square footage, 3,000 square feet. So yeah, it's $60 a month. Yeah, and usually that first $300. And that's how you know. And then, like I said, I come to the.
I'm gonna have to start using rings.
Yeah, you need to.
I used to not, and it was fine.
I mean, I can still get it. It's almost like.
If I give them a flat rate, then it's not an issue with the thing.
Like it's $60 a month. If we get an 800 average, like we're,
It's a clear monthly fee, like $100 a month, I'll drop it down. Or half of
It's times 5. That's. Yeah.
I'm giving you a new feeling.
What's great, we will also have. Termite is an additional $59. You can literally sell accounts at 118 a month.
Wait, so is that?
However, what's cool is if they look up any Centricon, which is a service, look it up. Centricon charges like a $1,000 to $2,000 install.
Yeah.
And we can do it for free if they sign up for general. Yeah. So you just say, so usually they're $12 on the, if you look it up. That's what it costs. General package, I would charge you. And then you get the install out free. They would have had to pay that once you install. So. No,
No, it's like.
You know,
Also, by the way, my mosquito.
You told all three of them, you name it.
That's good. Content. That's ready.
That's for paying like $2,200 on that one account. Yeah. Did I mention this, you know? That's important.
So I have.
Yeah.
And I. You tomorrow.
Yes, so I'll be here, man.
Either before.
Yeah.
Because I practice with you guys.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
I need to get dialed.
let's do it. Especially this, like,
Yeah,
So
this
the-
is where I'm gonna be.
the way that it works is, and I've been thinking on this, pondering it, how we should best do this, 'cause it's new for all of us.
Yeah.
Best, cleanest way to do it, and I had reps, I had 2 teams sell monthly, like, so. The easiest way to do it is out of business, go, right when you go to rate card, you go, cool, so the way this works, you turn into a teacher. So the way this works, we just come 4 times, a week. So get rid of quarterly, get rid of. You could say season still, but it's, I like just not once every 3 times. It's like, we come 4 times a year, for me, that's like, there's, we do this 4 times a year. And we bill you monthly. Here, like, make sure you know. How big's your home? 3,000 feet, perfect, it's $60 a month, usually the first one is a little bit more, I'll discount it for you. Right. If it's 300, I can get through. Yeah. Like I said, if you see anything in between those 4 days, we will come, not for free, we'll come as much as you need us to. We can come as many times as you need us to, in addition to. And then you close. Like I said, you guys gonna be here the next day or 2. By the way, we need you. No, like, they were. Yeah, I'll see you then. Okay, I'll see you guys Friday.
I'll be. How much weight percentage?
So the 30-day fall thing is like. I always think about it.
I did too, but what's the surfing is?
Yeah. So you don't even have to do that anymore, which is a new objection we got to get. We don't have to do it. Yeah. So that's. You guys should organize it, so. Okay. Started, I don't know where it is. Well, those are lights for now. Next week. See you guys. Oh, yeah, Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. Tuesday, either 6 or 8. Hey, Paul. We need to add a.
You do it, that's it too.
Here's one. I get on here, so you're. We do it every Wednesday next week. And you're like, there's, we probably need to figure out how to start.
That's. We gotta ramp up.
We pick the ball game. Bro. They don't even have. Figure out. Besides, it feels like it's more out.
Yeah, it's going into. It's selling all kinds, you know, same time, like just learning the process. Termites.
Tell them I said.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't get that, dude. Yeah, so, yeah. Came back.
I thought they fired him.
No,
He left. Oh, I'm glad to have it.
It's a mosquito. So let me show you, my mind is so great.
You get 25% of the sale. And you'll probably make like.
Like you. Yeah.
Keto, and then we
We actually go monthly for.
So normally for.
Every other month or month. I gotta figure that out.
Pretty sure it's every month. Every other month, you turn 150, you need to do it at least 4 times. Starting March.
I do too, this is all new.
It's still. And.
Like. Mosquito will not be. Anything you wanna attach it to. So I would. People actually don't get it first. They get all. And the other one, right, is about your focus. Once they sign up for.
So, we did that, run that back one more time. I really like the.
Because they're like, oh, that's cool, that you're a little cheaper. Dude, I got this whole, like,
You don't have to say that.
I got data. Stakes in the ground now.
So after you get 60 about 30% of the then you have to track back for the year. And then the additional one you get paid on. And I'm gonna drop that all
So
for the
that still gets 45% of try, plus there's zero override on everything.
and then it was.
Mosquito and. Managers making over. Since we didn't support the mosquito. What you do for termite and mosquito.
Tell them it's more for the mosquito.
So 25% still just revenue on termite and. 5%.
5%, how do you give me that? Like,
We'll just
my
pro-
did you prorate
Prorate.
5% between the 8%? Okay. So I'll make
There's gonna be,
seeds.
it's gonna be. We're gonna get the map on that.
Dinner, Matt sold a good job, here's 20 cents. Yeah.
Oh, I don't need. Because.
I was.
Trip to the bedroom.
Oh, well, that's right. A couple seconds.
I don't think. And I think it's seriously, I think we'll attach. I think maybe 20%, 30% of our sales. It's something that I have, like, I think it's gonna be pretty. I think one in every.
Sneak away, they come back to you. For termites.
Break the arm.
Yeah, it's a well.
Let's get those numbers solidified.
We already got them all.
Oh, okay.
We're just like very hard right now.
Can you make the monthly, higher so you can drop it? Does that make sense?
We can.
Or can you just make one special card from there or something? Because I want to draw, I want to be able to draw not just the initial, but I also want to draw. So I feel like, because I feel like I could give them,
Yeah.
they're getting a discount and it doesn't have to be substantial, but like.
We can make some extra.
So I think.
That's also why I never use the card before it's on the quarter. It's like, that makes sense. I will make the card myself. No, staring at. Okay.
I was in your position.
I think that's fine. Well, I think we're
Well, there.
Scout.
We're gonna need per acre and for.
Builder of the home.
300, just kind of the 150, something to half off, 150 initial, 59 is about 30. Which is $800.
59 is the base.
Oh, okay.
Like for.
Yeah, so if you're 2,500 square feet, 3,000, you're saying 5, 9.
And then after that, don't forget the sugar.
Yeah.
And also it's 150.
Cause I love to have that base basically, and say like.
Yeah, then you pass it.
75, so I can drop it down to 45.
You know, one more feature and everything.
You, my home, it's only like that, you or that.
What it is. I'm just.
Well,
Yeah.
But then the right, they're like, the same they're like. Price, but those, I don't know. If I saw it.
Yeah, but I think, I think that's. So one time, they say, wait, this is. This is.
Okay, well, so how is it?
Monthly price. Get you on board on this, and then
Break that up.
Yeah, I just like to give people certain like. Yeah. Want to change the card to the same price as you, just want to make it feel better about it.
Right.
Okay, so Tuesday does not work for you. I could do Wednesday before Jake at 6. Does that work?
Wednesday's better, yeah.
Can you do, I know I've asked you before 6 and then you usually have a meeting.
Not consistently, scheduled, but I can.
6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock would work then?
Yeah, Saturday, or I mean Wednesday.
Yeah.
Call me tomorrow, let me know how that goes up there.
Yeah, I will, as I'm coming home at 9 o'clock.
So. Which one?
Yeah.
Confident. The place where you don't want to get written out.
Is he not?
Close or what?
Why is he so involved?
Explain the value already.
I mean, most of the houses. Probably use it once. Then, time back in. Oh, you got.
So yeah, if it's like, if this is like 7 or stuff like that.
In our branch.
All the way just to the magnets.
But I would. Then you have joint work.
I Detroit Parker said it's like, well, it's not half off. It is, it's not half, they never said it's half off of the year, it's half. off.
Did you get my charger?
That's your.
This is? You plugged it into here?
Cool. Anything else you want to practice with?
No, I just need to work on.
Yeah, so just be ready for. So, the right injection I want you to do.
Okay.
And then you guys can send me, text me like your detail response. I don't want to do mine. So let's just practice it when you guys find out, what everyone say?
No worries. Totally understand. This is the price they come.
Yeah. So you might, we have. Okay, the reason why we do that is one, we want to always.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the older months, we might be like service around.
Great job. You know, that's good. Inspections of us.
So the.
You mentioned.
That's. There's the night. And so, yeah, like, it's so nice. In the winter months, you know, we can do that. Yeah, then you get into the details for that, and then just training.
You're welcome.
Just you know, your mate's going to the conference.
Yeah, she's not here, and Bailey's not here either, so,
Yeah, they're both partying.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Would you be available like maybe on Friday or Saturday?
I will be here all next.
Next week, yeah.
You guys,
I'm just trying to see if there's.
yeah, you can like that. Or just send me, let's do that. Send over the.
Okay.
Hey guys, yeah. Yeah, so do the whole, this whole thing right here.
I did need to ask you.
Yeah.
Something my mom brought up, and she wanted to see if it was basically.
From us.
Yeah, like a breakdown of like the highest low.
Yeah.
Also the.
Yes, I'm happy to get that. I think I'd probably do, I could do a couple of, I'm trying to think like maybe 1099 or something, we can, I can work that out.
A couple people, maybe some people that were less than average and then some average people. Cause I'm trying to next, I don't anticipate them 50%. It's like. I don't know, that's what I'm saying, I'm not anticipating next, I don't. Sure.